Okay, well here we are interviewing Lucia Bellini DePonte, trying to find out a little bit about family history. So, I hear you were born in Brooklyn.
Well, no, I was born in New York City.
Where in New York City?
I don't remember the address,
Brooklyn.
but it was an apartment in New York City.
Huh.
And I was born on May 15th, 1920.
Yes, that's right. Today is, just for the record, today is the 23rd of October 2010. So you're currently 90 years old.
90 years old in 4 months.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll be 91 in
May 15th, right.
Yes, okay. So, what do you remember? What's your first memory?
Well, I have 4 brothers.
Yeah.
I had Louis, Alfred, Arthur, and Jerry.
Right.
And then I had 2 sisters.
Right.
One older than I was, her name was Anna, and one younger than I was, her name was Concetta.
Yeah.
And we moved to Brooklyn when I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And we lived at 1154 47th Street in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it was a big Jewish community.
Really?
And my father's house had 3 floors in it. We lived on the first floor, and the 2 tenants were on the second and the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
And they were all Jewish.
Uh-huh.
And when I was a little girl, the Jewish people were not allowed to turn on lights on Friday night or gas. So I was chosen to go upstairs to the tenant's house to turn on the gas, turn on or off the lights. And I loved it because when I came down, I always came down with a big cake.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we always ate fruit in my family, so when we had a cake, it was a big affair.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed it very much. When I was a little girl, I played baseball in the street with my friends and my neighbors. And then I would play stoop ball, where we would throw the ball on the stoop and see if it hit the step and come back, you know.
Yeah.
And I walked to school. I went to PS 160 in Brooklyn, and I would walk to school. And one day I got lost. I was just a little girl going to school at the age of 7. And I got lost. And my brothers found me, thank God, and they brought me home. Okay, so I graduated from the 8th grade, and then I went to New Utrecht High School, which was on 18th Avenue. And I would take the train for 10 cents, and I would ride to 79th Street for 4 years of high school in New Utrecht High School. Then, when I graduated from the high school.
Now, how old were you then?
I was 18.
When you graduated from high school?
Yes.
And what was high school life like? What did you do in high school?
It was very nice. I majored in Italian.
Yeah.
And so we had an Italian club, and I was a member of the Italian club. And then after I graduated, I actually met my husband, Grandpa, Dan, at the high school. He was the president of the Italian Alumni Association. So when we went back...
He had gone to New Utrecht also?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was 2 years younger than I was.
Right.
So he was still in college and in the high school.
Right.
As an alumni associate. Then I went to Brooklyn College because my father said we didn't have to pay, but you had to have a 92 high school average, which I had. So I got in without having to pay any money.
Right.
And why in those days would my father send me to college? He said if my neighbors could go to college, then my daughters can go to college.
Well, what do you mean by that? Because back in the day,
In those days,
what
no.
would happen to Italian girls after
They would go to factories and work in factories, making clothes, cutting clothes, and that kind of stuff. But my Jewish neighbors and tenants, they had daughters, and they believed very strongly in education. And so they went to Brooklyn College, too. So my father said, thank God, if they can go to college, my daughters can go to college. And it was the Depression. It was very bad. It was the Depression.
So when you're 18 years old, it's 1938.
1938, we were in the deep, deep, deep Depression.
Well, how did that affect your family? Who was working, who wasn't
Well, my
working?
4 brothers ended up working, and one of my brothers, my oldest brother, when he was born in Italy, he fell off a fence and he broke his kneecap.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, they didn't know what to do to replace the kneecap because he was born in 1906, I think. And so they
Fused his leg.
fused his leg,
Right.
so he could not bend his leg. So he was the only boy who couldn't go to work. So my father sent him to school, and he started some kind of work in architecture.
Well, wasn't he a draftsman, a mechanical draftsman
Yeah,
or
something
something?
like that. And then they encouraged him to go to college. So he went to college at night, and at the age of 35, he graduated from college. But I went to Brooklyn College in 1938, and I graduated in 1942 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in foreign languages. And I was certified as a teacher in Italian and French and Spanish. Then when I tried to get a job, I couldn't get a job in the city because in those days they had long lists of people applying for jobs. And you had to wait until your name came up before they would even interview you. So I had to get a job. My father had a friend who worked in, whose daughter worked in a public library. So he spoke to this woman, and she got me a job with a college degree in a public library as a clerk for $1,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was working there, the librarians thought that I had the talent for being a librarian. So they encouraged me to go to library school. So I went to Columbia University. I was admitted into library school. I went 4 years at night. I would travel into 116th Street in New York City by train for 4 years at night, and I got my master's in library science in 1947.
Okay, so let me stop here. I want to go back to a couple things. First of all, I want to go back to the high school years. What was high school like back then? What, you just went from classroom to classroom?
Nice. Yes, it was very nice. We had classes in all of the subjects and different teachers in all of the subjects. We had to take Regents exams.
Yeah.
I
Were
remember that.
girls treated the same as boys in high school?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I never noticed any difference.
Right. Okay.
I never noticed any difference.
And when you graduated from high school in 1938, it was the Depression. Now you had older brothers, right?
Yes, the 4 brothers were all older than the girls.
And only Louis went to college. The other 3 guys went to
Yes,
work, right?
They went to work. Well, I had a brother who was very talented, and he started a mother of pearl business.
Talented how? This is Jerry?
No, this is Alfred.
Alfred.
Alfred started this mother of pearl business.
Yeah.
And he would make all kinds of gadgets with mother of pearl. Then when my other two brothers got out of high school, they did go to high school, they went to work for him.
Uh-huh.
And so they carried on this business for a while, and that's what happened to them.
That was Bellini, mother of pearl, right?
Bellini, mother of pearl.
And did it turn into a big business, or what was it?
Well, they were pretty successful. They made a living out of it.
Right.
That's all I can tell you.
Right.
After that, I don't know what happened.
And your father didn't work, right? For a long time.
My father, I can't remember now.
Well, he worked in marble, right?
Yes, he was a marble
Craftsperson.
craftsperson. And he had, yes, when he came to America, they came to America in 1911. He came to America in 1911. My mother came with her two sons in 1912. She came with Louis and Alfred.
And before then
They were born in Italy.
in Salerno?
No, they were born in Naples.
Oh, in Naples, okay.
In Naples.
Na-
Campania.
Yeah,
Campania.
now your parents met where? Do you remember?
My parents,
Did they meet in Salerno? Where
I
did they
haven't
meet?
decided. Oh, my father came from Piedmont.
Yeah,
My father was born in Piedmont, and he came from Piedmont. And then he came down to Naples to work there. And my mother had 4 brothers, and they were all professional. One was a priest, and one was an architect, one was an engineer. Their names were Spagnuolo, S-P-A-G-N-U-O-L-O, and they were very talented. And somehow or another, I know she met my father, but I really don't know how she met him. And at the age of 17, she married my father.
right. Now she had been raised mostly in a convent, your mother?
Oh yes, her mother had died when she was a child, and she had just the 4 brothers. And somehow or another, they couldn't take care of her, so they sent her to a school, you might call it a convent, or where the nuns brought her up, actually.
Like a boarding school or something?
Yeah, that's where she learned this fantastic talent of crocheting,
Yeah.
and she made the most gorgeous crocheting blankets. I have them all here
Yeah.
for you to see and to take as you get older. You're very willing to take them. But I had a very good life. My brothers used to play ball with me in the kitchen. They would get big pots out, and they would let me throw the ball into the pot,
Uh-huh.
and they played with us all the time.
Yeah.
I really had 4 great brothers.
Yeah.
And my oldest brother, Louis, when he started making plans, he was the architect, and he taught me how to color in the what do you call it?
The landscape?
No, he was drawing plans.
Right.
And then on the plan, there were certain spots that had to be colored in black,
Yeah.
and he used me to do that for him.
Uh-huh.
So I worked with him while he was making his plans.
Uh-huh.
And then he married the daughter of one of my family relationships.
Yeah. Right.
That's about it.
So, what were your parents like?
My parents,
Yeah, what were they like?
they were wonderful. My father was very talented,
Yeah.
very talented. He believed in educating his daughters,
Right.
which was totally uncalled for
Right.
and totally unusual
Right.
in that area. About 2 blocks down, we lived on 13th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
About 11th Avenue and 10th Avenue, that whole area was Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And but the area where I lived, they were all Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're all Hasidic Jews,
Right.
covering the whole area. As a matter of fact, they tore down my mother's house, and they built an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So where that house used to be, there is now an apartment, all apartments on that street.
Right.
It's still a lovely street. It's called Borough Park.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the better areas
Right.
of Brooklyn.
Right.